It feels like, for the past few years, Nickelodeon has been churning out SpongeBob SquarePants movies, whether intended for theaters or streaming on Netflix. And now that tiny, one-eyed, undersea creature always looking to steal the Krabby Patty formula gets his time to shine in Plankton the movie. Doug Lawrence, aka Mr. Lawrence, the voice of Plankton, and longtime SpongeBob writer, came up with the story for this movie, and he's definitely a character with the potential for an enjoyable feature-length adventure. Meanwhile, the film is directed by Dave Needham, who previously directed the Loud House movie for Nick. So with Plankton the movie now on Netflix, what did I think of it? Oddly, the thing that most jumped out at me about the movie is how much it felt like a point-and-click computer game from the 90s. I know that seems strangely specific, but the way a lot of scenes played out, especially the beginning, and a lot of the dialogue, I was surprised I did not have a keyboard and mouse in front of me to move SpongeBob and Plankton around Bikini Bottom. I remember those sorts of games well, with fittingly one of them I played as a child being the Rugrats Adventure game, which involved you moving Tommy Pickles around the house while a story played out, complete with cutscenes. Plankton the movie felt like those sorts of cutscenes, but without the gameplay. One of the earliest jokes even has Plankton break the fourth wall and talk directly to the audience, and you almost expect him to tell you to click a button to start the game. Beyond that, I did find the story a bit of a mixed bag. The idea of Karen, the computer, being fed up with Plankton and deciding to take over the world herself has potential, but the execution was not one I found particularly engaging, especially the involvement of SpongeBob and other Bikini Bottom characters. Since it's centered on Plankton, you would think Mr. Krabs would play a major role, but he only gets a couple of moments. Same with Squidward. As for SpongeBob, he tags along, but his entire role here is just a way to get Plankton to delve into his backstory. The humor in this movie relies on the usual silly SpongeBob antics, but I only found myself laughing a few times during its runtime, mostly little visual gags. The people working on this one do seem to have a particular affection for the first SpongeBob SquarePants movie, and I thought those were some cute references. Like I mentioned, the movie includes flashbacks that show us Plankton and Karen's backstory, and I actually thought those were the strongest parts. It's interesting getting some insight into Plankton and his world domination plans. The evolution of Karen and how she became his computer wife is also done with creativity, and their relationship is actually quite sweet at points. We're also told the reason why he's so obsessed with stealing the secret formula for the Krabby Patty, and I thought that was actually quite clever. A few of these flashbacks are done in different animation styles, including 1930s rubber hose animation. One particularly inspired sequence has Plankton go on a Disney World-style dark ride of his memories. Having voiced and written for the character for so long, you can tell how fond Mr. Lawrence is of him, and there is an attempt to evolve Plankton while still retaining the characteristics and trademarks so often associated with him. The movie is also a musical, and the song numbers do have a nice spring in their step. Several of these songs were written by Brett McKenzie, who did the songs for the last two Muppet movies, and there's a charm and catchy beat to these tunes. Regarding the animation, I was initially unsure what to make of it at first. It did look like a computer game, and the graphics were not that impressive. However, after a while, I did get used to the look of the movie. However, I don't understand why these last few SpongeBob movies, including these ones made for Netflix, use a computer animation style and not the traditional animation the television show still uses. Nothing against them going for CGI, and Sponge Out of Water and Sponge on the Run did a particularly impressive job of translating the characters. However, it would be nice to have a new, fully hand-drawn SpongeBob movie. Overall, Plankton the movie has its moments, and there are a few amusing bits to be found here, but it did feel like two stories smashed together, with the backstory and the Karen taking over the world story, and I personally got more out of the former. However, it's a harmless enough addition to the franchise, and rarely did it get on my nerves. The original idea was to do this as a television special, and I wonder if that would have been the better route to take here, as it can feel stretched out at points, especially outside of the flashback scenes. I should mention we won't have to wait long for the next SpongeBob movie, as Paramount will be releasing the next one, Search for SquarePants, theatrically this December, and it will involve SpongeBob going up against the Flying Dutchman. Again. There are 315 episodes, cut them some slack. Even this movie recycles a few things, but like I said, it was at least nice to see a bit of spotlight on Plankton, who I do find one of the most entertaining SpongeBob characters.